If you would like an emotionally secure relationship but your romantic interest is disinterested or hasn't chosen you, and you're just getting started in manifestation and esotericism, perhaps already consuming tons of dating advice, then listen to this. Have you ever heard of anyone by the name of Neville Goddard? Me personally, I like that dude, but I'm always kind of on edge, kind of questioning everything I'm looking at, aiming to verify if what I'm looking at is true. Are his teachings true? At the time of recording this video, I can't see reason to believe that what he has written in his own books and his lectures is incorrect. But that's not my point yet. I kind of need to get something off my chest, which is why I'm making this video. I've read all his books and I've listened to pretty much all of his lectures. And now I've done it dozens of times. But this time I'm reading the books and I'm cross-referencing the books with other people's opinions on the books. In particular, the book called Prayer, the Art of Believing. Now, if you're a traditional Christian in the sense, you may understand the definition of prayer to mean direct communication through God. In physical form, you might close your eyes and hold your hands together like this. You may speak aloud, or you may even have your eyes open and just talk to God directly through your mind and heart and soul. But I've just learned, after cross-referencing and getting some other opinions on this book, the secret of prayer, it's not really a secret, but it's the meaning of the prayer, according to this particular book, is belief, in the sense of a verb. Believing. Believing, the verb, the actual verb, believing. And it kind of hit me a little bit. You can just completely remove the word prayer from the book and just start using the word belief or believe. But it's not any kind of believing, it's not any kind of particular belief in itself. It's kind of like also a meditative state. Now, many people think that you have to do yoga to meditate, or that you need to be in some type of ultra trance state, or whatever other thing, some type of hypnotic state in order to meditate. But I think that's not really correct. Meditate really just means to think about something. That's all it means. You go about your day doing this without even maybe realizing it. You're meditating often. I think there's an example in the book provided. You meditate on arguments you've had and you replay those arguments. That's the easiest example I can recall and relate to. Can you? And if you can capture that feeling of what it's like to meditate on those arguments and you replay those scenarios, if you can do that, then what prevents you from being able to actively construct the same thing for any other subject matter? You meditate in your heart, you meditate in your mind. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You are your subconscious beliefs. You are the sum total of your parts. You are the sum total of your subconscious underlying beliefs. And I guess part of the point of all this is that your beliefs are kind of like that sum total of you. There's a part in the book at the end of chapter 4 that says, if you knew what this meant, you would understand what music of the spheres means. And what that literally means is kind of like the planets orbiting around the sun. Your beliefs are kind of like this system that orbit around you. All the things that are happening around you are kind of like these planets. And it's all because of your subconscious underlying belief systems. Now, a lot of people may claim to be coaches or professionals on the subject, but I tell you that you will need to use great discernment to decipher the truth for yourself. I say if you really want to discern something properly and effectively, you're going to have to read the books yourselves, and you're going to have to cross-reference them. And this is crucial to come to understanding, like the way I did with the definition of prayer. Because here is the thing, why it's so important that you study for yourself, you cross-reference for yourself. You ask questions, I suppose, and you seek out the answers. And that is, if you think throughout the whole time you're reading the book, for the 5th time, like I have, that prayer is meant to pray directly to God in the sense, then you actually are inadvertently misapplying the accuracy of the book. And you might be asking yourself, well, if you're not praying directly to God, then, like, what is the definition of prayer? Has Neville or other people misconstrued what prayer means? Or is the original understanding of prayer wrong? And to you, I say there is more than one way to skin a cat. It's not one or the other. Both can be true at the same time. Prayer is indeed direct communication to God, and it is you simply believing or meditating. And I kind of say this for coming from an orthodox perspective, because I need to cross-reference myself in the future, and also perhaps eventually share this information with family members who may be interested, coming from that orthodox background. Because if I was to tell you, or an orthodox or traditional Christian, that prayer literally means just to believe, it might fly over your head. I may have conveyed the message completely wrong. And if you come across coaches who say they understand the Bible better than any Christian, and they tell you that you don't pray to a man in the sky, well, they're not technically wrong in the aspect where they're coming from, but they're also wrong in thinking that that's the only way to do it. And so how you can apply this information practically, in a practical sense, today, is you can simply already, if you're not already Christian, you're praying to God, obviously, hopefully. But if you want a practical step, the action, the take action for the 1%, you literally do the believing. You change the subconscious underlying assumptions, beliefs inside of your heart. Meditate on these things. There is an analogy in the beginning of chapter 4 about the invention of the photophone by Alexander Graham Bell. And unless you read that chapter and you look at exactly how a photophone works, not just hear it, not just hearsay and it's like, oh, I get the gist, but you actually examine how the photophone works, at least theoretically, you look at it, it gives you a completely different feeling than just hearing it through hearsay or through hearing it through narration. If I had to describe it by memory, this is how I would describe it. The photophone it's not like a telephone and it's not like a radio, but it's kind of like a radio and it's kind of like a telephone. But instead of using radio waves and things like that to transfer communication, instead it uses sunlight to carry the vibrations. So what happens is you have sort of like this machine. It could play sounds, it doesn't really matter. It could play music, for example. And then you have a mirror. And the mirror will actually vibrate naturally, kind of like how you hold a bottle of water and you can feel the vibrations in the water when you hear the loud music play. You can hear the subwoofer, you can feel it. It does the same thing on a mirror. But what is so interesting is that sunlight carries those vibrations. And I don't know how exactly mirrors work, but they just seem to mimic each other. So if you point the sunlight at another mirror, the receiving mirror will also vibrate and play the exact same music. And this is something to do with the principle or law of thought transmission. That's the name of the chapter. I do have a lot to say, and I would probably just caution you to beware of anything that encourages spiritual awakening, especially in relation to channeled entities. For example, compare Neville Goddard with the demon called Seth, or compare Neville Goddard to Aleister Crowley, who also channeled demons and wrote down their teaching. And this is the problem with Hermes Trismegistus from the Kabbalion, or the Hermetica, or whatever, is that that's also potentially, very likely, from what I've been studying, a demon, or gods from ancient Egypt. And these sources are not trustworthy, even if the principles are accurate. The source itself is not. So I warn you, unlike so many other people who were just saying, oh yeah, that was a special channeled entity or a psyche thing, I'm telling you to not go down that path. Babylon the Great is all throughout the internet, and it's time to tear down the blue bloods. That's a Neville Goddard term. If you found that little lesson interesting, give me a follow, contact me if you want one-on-one, and check out my website.